She contemplates her future too often. That means she constantly thinks too deeply about her future all the time. I think that happens with all the teenagers and everyone who's growing up. I think normally that happens with people, right? So, a word with context. To contemplate a situation is to think too deeply about a situation or think too deeply about something for a very long time. Now, word number 3. Listen carefully, everybody. It's delusion. Delusion. Now repeat for pronunciation. Delusion. Once again, delusion. That's absolutely amazing. Now, delusion, I think that is something you're familiar with. We hear it a lot. You need to come out of your delusion and accept the reality. You need to come out of your delusion and accept the reality. So, delusion. Delusion is basically a situation that we have created in our mind, which is not real. It's fake. So, delusion can be anything. When you know about the facts, specifically, like if a person knows that the prospect of that person getting promoted is kind of non-existent, like they're not much, because there are other contenders who might have performed better. Now still, this person is thinking that, no, I will get promoted even after knowing that the other person or the other contenders performed better, and they are not accepting the reality, and they're living in this delusion that I'm going to get promoted. That is kind of delusion. That you know about the facts, still, you want to live in that fantasy or the fake world that you have created. That is delusion. So, yeah, you can use this word now correctly. That is delusion. Another sentence could be, he's being delusional to think that he's going to get promoted. He will get promoted. He's being delusional to think that he will get promoted. So, delusional is basically kind of an adjective you're using, and delusion is the noun. Same word, but different versions. So we know that we can use a word in many different ways. Delusion, delusional, when you don't want to accept the reality. So that is the word. Now, word number 4. Listen carefully, everybody. Blemish. Repeat after me. Blemish. Yes, once again, blemish. Excellent. Now, blemish. For that, you need to hear the sentence, there was no blemish on her beautiful white dress. There was no blemish on her beautiful white dress. Now, blemish on a white dress means a mark or a spot. So blemish is basically to spoil an appearance by a spot or a mark that spoils the appearance of something. So a blemish can be the spot of an ink on the white dress. It can be the spot of something that you eat, or it might have fallen down. So, there was no blemish on her beautiful white dress means it was not spoiled, without any mark, without any spot. So blemish is like a spot in the appearance. Blemish is also used for situations. For example, a particular situation is spoiled by a particular action. You can say, it's blemished. That means everything was so good, everything was going so well, then something happened. And that was a blemish in the whole event, or the whole situation. For example, everything is going good, you might be taking a decision for a project, and suddenly, one of the team members who is performing really well and giving ideas is changed and replaced by somebody else. So, you still have the problem. You can say, for example, that in that project everything is doing well, but because that one person was replaced, you were not able to meet the deadline because that person took a little bit of time to get adjusted to this particular project. That means the changing of the team member was a blemish, as the team missed the due date for the project. So that is how you're forming the sentences for the word blemish. So it's a word that you can use anytime you want to refer to a situation. Or, yeah, if you want to talk about the appearance, the clothes, yeah, use the word blemish. Word number 5. Listen carefully, everybody, and that is fiasco. Now, fiasco, this word is kind of popular these days. When you speak English, you'll hear it a lot. It's not in spoken English. Fiasco. What is the meaning of fiasco? Let's listen to the sentence first. The whole meeting ended up in a fiasco. The whole meeting ended up in a fiasco. So, fiasco is basically a kind of disaster. Not a natural disaster, obviously, but a disaster means kind of a very bad situation. Something that is ending up in a bad situation, or not as expected. You can say it's kind of a mess. You know when you want to say that this situation is such a mess, that you're not able to understand what is happening or what happened, and it's a complete failure as you can see. So, the whole meeting ended up in a fiasco, maybe because people were not able to take a decision. There were so many conflicting ideas that the meeting ended up in an argument. And yeah, no result. That means it's a fiasco, right? A complete failure, a disaster of a situation. So, it's used a lot in business English. It's used a lot to describe a situation, anything that is happening. And yeah, if you want to describe it, use the word fiasco. Fiasco is always used in reference to a situation, a particular situation, a particular happening. Another example could be the party turned into a fiasco because two people started arguing. The party turned into a fiasco because two people started arguing. So, fiasco is like, yeah, everything was going great. And then suddenly, everything went downhill. Everything was a mess. So, fiasco. Next word, word number 6. Listen carefully, everybody. It's an easy word. Root, root. Now, root is very easy. It's simple. Root is basically the base of any plant, right? Specifically the cause of any problematic situation, the cause of any problem, why something is happening. And there is also a particular phrase known as root cause. So root is basically when you want to find out what has actually led to a particular situation, the beginning of something where everything began from what was the cause, the reason. That is root. For example, we need to find the root cause of the delay immediately. Let's organize a meeting to discuss the root of this particular issue. So root of the issue means the cause of the issue. What is basically causing this particular issue? Root cause is a phrase that we use a lot, and root means the base or the cause of a particular issue, situation, or problem. Word number 7. Listen carefully, everybody. Word number 7 is exaggerate, exaggerate. Now repeat after me. Exaggerate, exaggerate. Remember, there is a double G in this phrase. Spelling, but we do not say G, right? Exaggerate, exaggerate. Excellent. Now, what is exaggerate? Do not exaggerate the situation by adding unnecessary details. Do not exaggerate the situation by adding unnecessary details. Sales exaggerate. So exaggerate is basically to make it seem larger than it is. So exaggerate is basically to make it seem larger than it is. So exaggerate is, and you're going to exaggerate the price of that particular thing. I bought it for this and that. I bought it from here and that. So that is kind of exaggerating the thing. You get to attend an event and you tell details about it that were not true, and you're exaggerating. That means you're adding something which is more than what the event was. That means you're exaggerating. You're making it seem larger than the reality in reality what it was. For example, a very basic example could be that you stayed in a three-star hotel on your vacation and you made it sound like a five-star hotel. Or you're telling everybody that you stayed in a five-star hotel. It's like exaggerating the thing, kind of exaggerating things. So the basic example could be that exaggerate is to just add on details and make things so magnificent. In reality, they are not that magnificent, or you make them larger than reality. Another example could be stop exaggerating about the party that you attended, or stop exaggerating the details of this project. Word number 8. Word number 8 is, listen carefully everybody, euphoria. Euphoria. Repeat after me, euphoria. Once again, euphoria. Euphoria. The team felt a sense of euphoria after winning the match. Yes, euphoria is basically to feel extremely happy about something. If you are extremely happy, it's a sense of happiness, a sense of achievement, excitement for something, a particular situation, and it arises due to a particular situation. And that is kind of like Sheely, perhaps meant assessly or Sheely. For example, the students were euphoric to know their results. My friend was caught up in euphoria after getting admission into her dream college. So, euphoria is basically that sense of extreme happiness that you experience because you've achieved something great. So, it produces from a moment of greatness. For example, winning a match is basically a big deal. Getting admission into your dream college is a big deal. Getting great results after an exam is a big deal. So, all these situations can be described as euphoric situations, where you experience extreme happiness, a feeling of being elated, like feeling like you're at the top of the world. That kind of feeling, that is euphoria. Word number 9, listen to it carefully. Everybody. Feudal. Now repeat after me. Feudal, feudal, feudal. All her efforts to make the project were futile as it rained heavily the next day. So all her efforts to make a great science project were futile because it rained heavily the next day. Futile means useless. Futile means that whatever you have done, it's useless, not of any use. So, futile, your efforts for this project will become futile if you do not add more members to your team. That means use less. If you don't submit this assignment on the deadline, your assignment will become futile. So, the assignment is going to be futile because the teacher might not accept the assignment after the due date, after the end date, and hence the assignment is futile. No use of the assignment after that. So, futile is something that has become useless, or a situation that is useless, efforts that are useless. Sentence number 10. Listen carefully, everybody. Inevitable, inevitable. Repeat after me, inevitable. The inevitable appointment of the new CEO was an inevitable decision. At first, I was slow, but with time, I became faster. I learned new words, and my confidence grew. Another student asked me, "Teacher, Is fluency only about speaking fast? I said no. Fluency is about speaking clearly. It is about making others understand you. You do not have to speak quickly. You have to speak with confidence. There was once a boy in my class who spoke very fast, but no one understood him. Could I told him, slow down, speak clearly, use simple words. He listened, and soon everyone could understand him. He became more confident and enjoyed speaking in English. Fluency is like a journey. You take one step at a time. You do not rush. You enjoy the process. One day, you look back and see how far you have come. I have seen many students who were afraid to speak at first, but with time and practice, they became fluent. There is a secret practice, they became fluent. There is a secret to gaining fluency. It is a simple secret. The secret is to listen. Listen to others speak English. Listen to stories. Listen to songs. Listen to conversations. The more you listen, the more you learn. I once knew a girl who loved music. She would listen to English songs every day. As soon as she started singing along, her fluency improved because she was listening and repeating. Another important thing is to not be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are our best teachers. I remember a student who was very afraid of making mistakes. She would not speak because she thought others would laugh at her. I told her, do not worry about mistakes. Every mistake is a lesson. One day, she decided to speak in class. She made many mistakes, but she did not stop. She kept speaking. Fluency is also about thinking in English. When you think in English, you start to speak more naturally. I once had a student who always translated from his language to English. This made him slow and confused. I told him, try to think in English. Even when you are alone, think in English. He tried this, and slowly, he became more fluent. There was another student who loved to talk. He would talk about anything and everything, but he had a problem. He would start a sentence in English and then switch to his native language. I told him, try to stay in English. Even if you don't know a word, try to explain it in English. This helped him stay focused, and soon he was speaking only in English. Reading is another way to gain fluency. When you read, you see how sentences are formed. You learn new words. I remember when I was learning English, I would read simple books. Every time I found a new word, I would write it down. Then I would try to use it in a sentence. This helped me remember the words and use them when I spoke. One day, a student came to me with a book. She said, "Teacher, I read this book, but I did not understand everything." I told her, that is okay. The more you read, the more you will understand. She continued to read every day. After some time, she came to me and said, now I understand much more. Her fluency improved because she was reading and learning new things every day. A fluency is also about listening to yourself. Sometimes you need to record yourself speaking, then listen to it. See where you can improve. I once had a student who did this every day. She would record herself reading a story, then she would listen to the recording and find areas where she could improve. This practice made her more aware of her speech, and soon she became fluent. Practicing with a friend is another great way to gain fluency. I had two students who were best friends. They were both fluent in English, and they were able to speak only in English with each other. Every day, they would have conversations in English, helping each other with words they didn't know. Over time, both of them became very fluent. They learned from each other and enjoyed the process. Fluency also comes from using the language in real-life situations. When you go to the market, try to speak in English. When you are with friends, try to use English. The more you use the language, the more fluent you become. I have had a student who worked in a shop, decided to speak only in English with his customers. At first it was difficult, but with time, he became more confident and fluent. Fluency is also about being curious. When you hear a new word, don't ignore it. Find out what it means and try to use it in your next conversation. I remember a student who was very curious. Every time he heard a new word, he would ask me what it meant. Then he would try to use that word as much as possible. His vocabulary grew, and so did his fluency. It is also important to have a goal. Ask yourself, why do I want to be fluent in English? When you have a clear goal, you are more motivated. I knew a student who wanted to travel to an English-speaking country. This was her goal. Every day, she practiced speaking English because she wanted to be ready for her trip. Her goal kept her motivated, and she became fluent before she traveled. He would watch one movie every night. At first, he used subtitles, but after a while, he started watching without them. He enjoyed the movies, and at the same time, he was improving his fluency. Fluency is about repetition. The more you repeat, the better you become. I remember a student who loved to repeat sentences. He would hear something in class and then say it over and over again. This helped him remember the sentences, and soon he was using them in his daily conversations. Speaking with different people also helps with fluency. Every person has a different way of speaking. When you talk to different people, you learn different styles of speaking. I once had a student who was very shy. He only spoke to me. I encouraged him to speak to other students. At first, he was nervous, but with time, he became more comfortable. He learned new ways of expressing himself, and his fluency improved. Sometimes it is good to practice speaking about topics you love. When you talk about something you enjoy, you are more passionate, and the words come more easily. I had a student who loved football. Every day, he would talk to me about football. This helped him become more fluent because he was speaking about something he was excited about. Fluency also comes from understanding that it's okay to not know everything. Sometimes you may not know a word, and that is okay. Try to explain it in another way. I had a student who always wanted to know the exact word for everything. If he didn't know the word, he would stop speaking. I told him, if you don't know the word, try to describe it. This helped him keep the conversation going, even when he didn't know the exact word. A student once asked me, "Teacher, how long will it take to become fluent?" I told him, it depends on how much you practice. Some people become fluent in a few months, while for others, it takes longer. But the important thing is to keep going. Do not stop. This student practiced every day and soon saw progress. Sometimes it is helpful to practice in front of a mirror. When you see yourself speaking, you become more aware of your expressions and gestures. I had a student who was very shy. She did not like to speak in front of. I told her to practice in front of a mirror. This helped her become more confident, and soon she was speaking more fluently. Another student asked me, "Teacher, what should I do if I forget a word while speaking?" I told him, "Do not stop. Keep talking. Sometimes the word will come to you later. If not, use another word." This helped him stay calm when speaking, and he didn't worry about forgetting words. It is also important to take breaks sometimes. Your brain needs rest after a long day of practice. It is good to relax. I knew a student who practiced all the time. She became very tired and started to feel frustrated. I told her, "Take a break, relax, come back tomorrow with a fresh mind." After taking breaks, she felt better, and her fluency continued to improve. Fluency is also about using the language in creative ways. You can write a short story, sing a song, or even make a video. I had a student who loved to write. She would write short stories in English every day. This helped her practice new words and sentences. Soon she started reading her stories aloud, and her fluency improved. Another way to practice is by teaching others. When you teach, you learn even more. I had a student who was very fluent. She decided to help her friends who were not as fluent, words and practice speaking with them. This not only helped her friends, but also made her even more fluent. Sometimes it helps to have a routine. Set a time every day to practice speaking English. I had a student who would practice every morning for 30 minutes. This was his routine.